Hello guys, welcome to EduTap. Guys, this is the SEBI Graded 2020 examination extra edge session. In this session, we basically are covering some of the topics which are not a part of your syllabus, but still we think that they are relevant for your examination. So two topics I am going to discuss in this video. First is the SEBI Act, then we have the SECRA, Securities Contract Regulation Act. So starting with SEBI Act 1992, I am not going to cover the penalties part here, rest everything will be covered. So objective, why was the SEBI Act passed? Basically guys, a lot of stock exchanges were working in India, but they were not regulated. Okay, the brokers, they were having a lot of power and they were doing what they wanted to do. A lot of scams were happening in those times. Okay, and when these scams were of a lot of amount, okay, the most important being the Harshad Mehta scam. So you might have seen the Harshad Mehta web series also. uh, Harshad Mehta scam was approximately for rupees 500 crores. Okay, so a lot of discrepancy was going on in the market. So at that time, okay, the central government formed a board known as the Securities Exchange Board of India, and that board was established to protect the interest of investors and to regulate the securities market. Okay, it shall be deemed to have come into force on the 30th day of January 1992. So the SEBI Act came into force on 30th January 1992, and the main objective of SEBI Act and establishment of the SEBI board was to regulate the market as well as protect the interest of investors. SEBI is a body corporate. Guys, every organization is given a status. Either it is an association of person, either it is a board of individuals, either it is a partnership, either it is a mutual agency. Okay, so SEBI, it is a body corporate. Now, being a body corporate, all the characteristics of body corporate are given to SEBI. Okay, so it can sue anyone in its own name, it can be sued in its own name, it can do a contract in its own name, it can have a property in its own name, it has a perpetual succession, and it has a common seal. Basically, all the attributes of a company, of a body corporate, are given to SEBI. The head office of the board refers to SEBI. Okay, whenever I shall be quoting the word board, it means SEBI. So the head office of the board shall be at Bombay. The board shall consist of the following members, namely, okay, this is the composition of the Securities Exchange Board of India. Compositions, guys, whenever it comes in any examination, it is a very important topic. Okay, so one topic I'm not covering here, that is the Securities Appellate Tribunal. Okay, if you guys have time, you can also see the composition of Securities Appellate Tribunal. Okay, composition is one of the main part. Then we are here discussing about the composition of SEBI. So it shall have a chairman, then two members from amongst the official of Ministry of Central Government dealing with finance, that is Ministry of Finance, and Administration of Corporate Affairs, that is MCA. Okay, so one chairman, two members from Ministry of Finance and MCA, then one member from Reserve Bank, and five other members, out of which three shall be whole-time members. All of them should be appointed by central government. Okay, so one chairman, then two members from MCA and MOF. Okay, so it is the words that are written is two members from amongst the official of. Okay, they have not given respectively. So what we assume is one member from Ministry of Central Government and Ministry of Central Government of Finance, and one with Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Then one member from amongst the official of Reserve Bank, and five other members, out of whom at least three shall be the whole-time members to be appointed by the central government. The chairman and members referred to in clause A and D. The chairman and five other members in clause D, they shall be appointed by the central government. And B part, okay, the Ministry of Finance and Ministry of Companies Act, okay, these two members shall be nominated by the central government. And the third one, C part, the representative of the Reserve Bank, he shall be nominated by the Reserve Bank. Then the central government shall have the right to terminate the service of a chairman or a member by giving him notice of not less than 3 months in writing or 3 months salary and allowances. So if the central government, the ultimate power belongs to central government. Okay. Before SEBI also, ultimate power was with the central government. Central government has delegated a lot of power to SEBI. Okay. But the power that has been delegated to SEBI are related to the stock exchanges. Ultimate authority is still given to central government only. The central government has the right, it can terminate the services of any chairman or any member by giving 3 months advance notice or by paying him 3 months salary. And even the chairman or the member, they have a right, if they want to relinquish their office, okay, if they want to vacate their office before the time period, before the expiry of their term, they can do so, but they need to give a 3 months writing notice to the central government. The central government shall remove a member from office if he ABCD. Okay, if any member attracts any of the disqualification given in ABCD, then he shall be removed from the office. Okay, by central government. So these are the disqualification which are which you will be seeing in every act. Okay, in compare that also some of the same disqualifications were there. So in central government shall remove a member if he is or at any time has been adjudicated as insolvent. If he goes bankrupt or if he was bankrupt, then he shall be removed as a member. Then if he is of unsound mind, if he becomes lunatic, if he becomes mad, then he will be removed from the membership. Then if he has been convicted of an offence which in the opinion of central government involves moral turpitude, if he has been convicted of any offence which in the central government is of involve moral turpitude, okay, if he has been convicted of rape, he has been convicted of murder, etc., then he has in the opinion of central government so abused his position as to render his continuation in office detrimental to the public interest after giving a reasonable opportunity of being heard in the matter. If according to the central government's opinion he has abused his position, okay, and now his sitting on that position is against the public interest, then he shall be removed from the membership. Abusing the position means that he was involved in corruption, etc. Okay, he has misused his power, and then he shall be removed by the central government. But in D point, if you have to remove any person, then you have to give him a reasonable opportunity of being heard. You cannot remove him directly, you have to give him an opportunity of being heard. Next is meetings. If the chairman is unable to attend a meeting of the board, any other member chosen by the member present from amongst themselves at the meeting shall preside at the meeting. Okay. So basically the chairman is presiding the meeting, but if in any case the chairman is not present, okay, the chairman is absent from a meeting, then the rest of the members, they will nominate a particular person, a particular member amongst themselves as a presiding officer for that particular meeting. Next is, in case the meeting has to decide anything, okay, they have to take a decision, then they will be doing it through majority. Okay, the member present, they will be doing it by majority of the by show of hands they can do it. Okay, they will be voting, and the majority they shall be deciding at the particular agenda. Now, if there is a tie, okay, if there is an equality of votes, so then the chairperson or the presiding officer, the chairperson or the presiding member, he shall be given a second vote, that is known as a casting vote. Okay, so he shall be given a tiebreaker vote. No act or proceeding of the board shall be invalid merely by reason of any vacancy in or any defect in the constitution of the board, or any defect in the appointment of a person acting as a member of the board, or any irregularity in the procedure of the board not affecting the merits of the case. Okay, so if suppose, okay, I've told you that these are the qualifications of the member, they shall be appointed as a member of SEBI. Okay, suppose in the COVID times one particular member died, okay, and due to lockdown there was no meeting and no other person could be appointed in place. Okay, suppose SEBI has to meet for a particular agenda suddenly, and now that particular person, there was a vacancy in SEBI for that particular person because no person was appointed in his place who has died. So will the agenda passed by the SEBI in that scenario, will it be valid or invalid? So they are saying if there is any vacancy in the constitution of board, okay, or a defect in the constitution of board, okay, defect means any person wrongly appointed, he was not qualified but still he was appointed, okay, by mistake, and he was a part of that meeting, and the meeting came to a conclusion, the agenda was passed. So will that agenda will be valid or invalid? So they are saying it will be valid. Okay, even if there is a vacancy in the constitution of board, there is a defect in the constitution of board, or any person was appointed as a member by defect, by fault, okay, or there were any irregularity, there were some procedural irregularity in the board, okay, which did not affect the merit of the case, which were not affecting the merit of the case, then the proceedings or act will be valid. Okay, then duties, it shall be the duty of the board to protect the interest of investors in securities and to regulate the security market. We all know that SEBI was established with this main purpose only, to protect the interest of investors and to regulate the securities market. The board may take measures to undertake inspection of any book or register or other document or record of any listed public company or a public company which intends to get its security listed on any recognized stock exchange, where the board has reasonable grounds to believe that such company has been indulging in insider trading or fraudulent or unfair trade practices relating to securities market. So if SEBI is having an idea, okay, it is under doubt in its opinion any company is indulging into insider trading or any unfair trade practices relating to security market. So it has the right that it can do an inspection of its books, register and all documents. But can it do the inspection of any company? No. SEBI is basically to regulate the listed company. Okay, so it can only do the inspection of books of listed public company and those unlisted public company which are trying to get, which intend to get their securities listed. Okay, so private company it is not possible, their books cannot be inspected by SEBI, and other public companies, unlisted public companies which do not intend to get security listed, their books can also be not inspected by SEBI. Next is the board may suspend the trading of any security in a recognized stock exchange. These are the powers given to board. Okay, board can suspend the trading of any security in a recognized stock exchange. The board restrain person from accessing the security market and prohibit any person associated with security market to buy, sell or deal in securities. SEBI has the power, it can restrict the brokers, it can suspend their licenses, okay. It can restrain the person to buy, sell or deal in securities. All the brokers, all the mutual fund companies, okay, all sub brokers or agents, they can be prohibited from dealing in securities. Then suspend any office bearer of any stock exchange. Any office bearer of stock exchanges, okay, if there's a doubt in SEBI's opinion, they have done something wrong, okay, so SEBI has the power, they can suspend him. Then attach for a period not exceeding 90 days bank accounts or other property of any intermediary or any person associated with the security market, any agent, any broker, any sub broker, for 90-day period their bank account and their property can be attached. Okay, the board shall within 90 days of the said attachment obtain confirmation of the said attachment from the special court. So when the board has done the attachment in point number D, then the board also within that 90-day period it has to report it to the special court and taken confirmation from them. Clear? These are basically the power of the board. The question which can be asked in the examination is which of the following is not a power of the board. Okay, they can give you 2-3 things and out of them one will be wrong. So you should basically have an idea. By common sense also you can do it, and by reading it also you can do it. Then no stockbroker, sub-broker, share transfer agent, banker to an issue, trustee of trust deed, registrar to an issue, merchant banker, underwriter, portfolio manager, investment advisor and such other intermediary who may be associated with security market shall buy, sell or deal in securities except under with the conditions of a certificate of registration obtained from the board. So what happens is whenever you have to deal with in the security market, okay, whether you are a banker, whether you are a trustee, whether you are a broker or whether you are an agent, investment advisor, you need to get a certificate of registration, okay, and that certificate of registration will be given by the board. Now there are certain terms and conditions, okay, you have to comply with. The certificate of registration is only given when you comply with certain terms and conditions. Now when you have taken the certificate of registration, it is necessary for you to adhere to those conditions. So any party, any broker, any stock broker, sub broker, share transfer agent, underwriter, portfolio manager, investment advisor, for buying, selling or dealing in securities, they have to obey the condition of certificate of registration. Clear? Next, penalty for insider trading. Penalty for insider trading, this was one of the most important penalty, so I mentioned it in the summary notes. Minimum is 10 lakh rupees and maximum 25 crores or 3 times the amount of profits made out of insider trading, whichever is higher. Minimum is 10 lakh and maximum 25 crore or thrice the profit made out of insider trading, whichever is higher. Now one important concept, collective investment scheme. So what do you mean by collective investment scheme? Suppose this is an intermediary and these are the investors. The investors will give their money to the collective investment scheme company. Okay, this intermediary, you can take it as any person, okay, which receives money from the investors and then it invested into either share market, in safe securities and liquid securities. They can invest it into any forms, okay, any forms of securities. Basically they invested into different types of securities. So that is basically known as they are pooling the resources. Okay, this particular intermediary, they are pooling the investor resources, the investor's money, and they are investing into the market. So that is known as the collective investment scheme. Now, what are the features of collective investment scheme? Conditions for CIS. CIS stands for collective investment scheme. The contribution made by the investors are pooled and utilized for the purpose of scheme or arrangement. They made the contribution and their contribution will be utilized for the scheme. Scheme basically means the investment purpose. The contributions are made by investors with a view to receive profits, income, produce or property. Whenever they are making the investment, okay, they are thinking that in future they shall be receiving any income, they shall be receiving any property, any profit. The property, contribution or investment forming part of scheme of arrangement is managed on behalf of the investors. On behalf of these investors, this intermediary, this person is managing their securities. So these person, they are having no control, okay, on the day-to-day operations of this scheme. The investors do not have any day-to-day control over the management or operation of the scheme or arrangement. The control is with the officers of this particular intermediary. These investors are having no control. It is up to their will where they have to invest the money, how they have to invest the money, how much they have to invest the money in a particular security. Okay. The following shall not be a CIS. Okay. When I talk about CIS, the first thing that comes to your mind is mutual fund companies. But no. Okay. These A to H points, they are not CIS. Okay. They are not CIS. Any scheme made by a cooperative society under which deposits are accepted by non-banking financial companies. Okay. They are separate points. Any scheme made by a cooperative society. So any such type of schemes, okay, which involve pooling of resources by a cooperative society and investing in market, that is not a CIS. Then any scheme under which deposits are accepted by non-banking financial companies, that is not a CIS. Any scheme being a contract of insurance companies, that is not a CIS. Any scheme providing for any scheme, pension scheme or other insurance scheme framed under the Employee Provident Fund and Miscellaneous Provisions Act. So any scheme under the Employee Provident Fund Act, okay, or pension scheme, that is not a CIS. Any scheme under which deposits are accepted under the Companies Act. Okay, there is a specific section under Companies Act regarding the deposits. Okay, so under that section, if you are receiving the deposits, so that is not a collective investment scheme. Then any scheme under which deposits are accepted by a company declared as Nidhi or Mutual Benefit Society. If any Nidhi company is taking any deposits, okay, and investing it in the market, that is not a collective investment scheme. If any chit fund company, okay, in duration of their chit business, they are taking any money and investing it in the market, that is not a collective investment scheme. And any company in nature of mutual fund, subscription to mutual fund, if they are taking money and investing in market, that is not a collective investment scheme. So these are the specific exclusions. They are not collective investment schemes. Any pooling of funds under any scheme or arrangement which is not registered with the board or is not covered above, okay, which is either unregistered, they are not registered with the SEBI, or they are not covered above, involving a corpus amount. Corpus is capital amount of rupees 100 crore or 100 crore rupees or more shall be deemed to be a collective investment scheme. Okay, so any pooling of funds, okay, under any scheme or arrangement which is not covered above and which is which is not covered above and which is not registered, and involving a corpus fund of amount of rupees 100 crores or more, this shall be deemed to be a collective investment scheme. Clear? Guys, what is the meaning of insider trading? I have used the term, I have specified the penalty also for that. But what does this term means? Insider trading. So insider trading is basically when a person who is having a confidential price sensitive information, okay, or undisclosed price sensitive information, that person is misusing the information for his own advantage, okay, for getting any monetary advantage, then that is known as insider trading. So the stockbrokers, the agents, the trustees, they're having a lot of undisclosed price sensitive information. So about the companies in which the securities are to be dealt. So usually what they do, they ask their investors to invest in such companies and they make their own investment also in such companies. That information is not public now. So at that time, misusing that information will take them at an advantage, and that is illegal. If you get caught, you will be heavily penalized. Clear? So this was insider trading. So guys, this was some basics about the SEBI Act 1992. Okay, the topics we have left that are of less importance that I've told you is of A category importance. Okay, so apart from them, one topic I would like, if you have time, you can study about the Securities Appellate Tribunal, and that too about the composition part. Nothing else in the examination that question can be asked. Apart from that, in SEBI Act, what I've taught is sufficient. Now we shall be discussing about Securities Contract Regulation Act 1956. It is one more act which is of quite importance. So I have also summarized it in a concise manner. Apart from the penalties, okay, 2-3 penalties I have mentioned which I think are important. I have not covered all the penalties and some miscellaneous parts. The main thing, the main crux of the act I have covered in this video. So SECRA Act 1956 was passed as a result of A.D. Gorawal Committee set up in 1951. So you have to remember the year also and name of the committee also. Next is the member. Okay, member of a stock exchange, there are certain qualifications for them. So according to Securities Contract Regulation Act 1956, a member must be appointed as per the qualification laid by the central government. So they have left it to the central government. Central government will prescribe the conditions for the member of stock exchanges. But Securities Contract Regulation rules, there were rules for this particular act. Next year they were passed in 1957, and the rules specified that a member must be minimum 21 years of age, and he should have knowledge about the finance domain, and also he should be a resident of India. Clear? Then two topics. One is demutualization and second is the corporatization. So what do you mean by these terms? Basically in examination the definition can be given and they will give you option. Okay, you have to select the correct option. So first of all, let us study demutualization. So before SEBI being a body corporate, SEBI was mutually owned stock exchange. Okay, it was held by brokers. So demutualization is a process by which a mutually owned stock exchange is converted into a company owned by shareholders, so transforming its existing legal structure into a business entity. Okay, so the earlier legal structure was, it was held by brokers, okay, as a mutual agency, but now it was converted. The membership rights were taken from them. Okay, they were having the membership rights, but the rights were taken from them, and they were admitted as a member. Okay, they were admitted as a member, basically shareholders of a body corporate. Okay, they were treated as a, just like the shareholders are treated in the body corporate. Similarly, they were given rights. Okay, but their hold on the stock market, that was taken away from them. Okay, because earlier they were doing a lot of manipulations. The process of converting exchanges from non-profit member-owned organization to for-profit investor-owned corporation is known as demutualization. So basically demutualization means when you are converting it from mutually owned stock exchange to profit-oriented investor-owned corporation, that is known as demutualization. The next step will be to change it into a corporate structure. Okay, first of all demutualization was done, and after that corporatization was done. So demutualization is the first step in which the mutually owned stock exchange, okay, the status was taken away from them, and when the status of a corporate structure was given to them, that is known as corporatization. So the process to convert the organizational structure of the stock exchange from a non-corporate structure to a corporate structure is called corporatization. Okay, so demutualization is taking away their mutually owned stock exchanges, and corporatization is changing it into a corporate structure. The third point, every recognized stock exchange in respect of which the scheme for corporatization or demutualization has been approved shall ensure that at least 51% of its equity share capital is held within 12 months from the date of publication of the order by the public other than shareholders having trading rights. So what does it mean? That every recognized stock exchange, okay, be it Bombay Stock Exchange, National Stock Exchange, or small stock exchanges, when demutualization or corporatization was done, okay, so within 12 months from the date of publication of the order regarding that it is now a body corporate, within 12 months its 51% of equity capital will be held by public, and by public I mean that not the shareholders who are having trading rights. Okay, trading rights, basically trading rights were given to the brokers. So any person except those brokers who are having trading rights, they shall hold, the general public shall hold at least 51% of the equity share capital. Okay, so that transparency can be there and power can be taken from the brokers. because if they will have a lot of equity capital, so they will have the voting rights there and they can misuse their power. So to take away the power, okay, from the hands of the bearers, okay, the bear market controllers and the bull market controllers, uh, power was delegated to the general public. So some more important points. Any stock exchange which is desirous of being recognized for the purpose of this act may make an application to the central government. So if you want to get recognized, okay, for the purpose of this act, basically you want to get it demutualized, you want to get it corporatized, okay, you have to apply to the central government. Then every grant of recognition to a stock exchange shall be published in the Gazette of India and also in the official Gazette of the state in which the principal office of the stock exchange is situated. So when the recognition is given to the stock exchange, then in the official Gazette of the state and official Gazette of India, the news will be published, and such recognition shall have effect from the date of publication in the official Gazette of India. If the central government is of the opinion that the recognition granted to a stock exchange, the central government may serve on the governing body of the stock exchange a written notice that the central government is considering the withdrawal of the recognition, and after giving an opportunity to the governing body to be heard, the recognition granted to the stock exchange can be cancelled. Okay, so if central government is having an opinion that the recognition that was granted earlier, okay, so there is some defect in that or it has been misused, so they can even take back the recognition. Every recognized stock exchange shall furnish to the SEBI periodical returns. So for stock exchanges, the MyBAP is the SEBI. Okay, so they shall report the SEBI by giving in periodical returns. Okay, about their current affairs. Then every recognized stock exchange shall furnish to central government a copy of the annual report. This is different, guys. Periodical returns to SEBI and its annual report to central government. Then every recognized stock exchange and every member thereof, shall preserve for such periods not exceeding 5 years books of account and other documents. Every member of stock exchange and every recognized stock exchange shall maintain their books of account and shall keep it with them for not exceeding 5 years. Okay, so that means they have to keep it for 5 years with them. Next topic is clearing corporation. What do you mean by clearing corporation? So guys, there is an activity of settlement and clearing. Okay, day to day, a lot of securities are being dealt in the security market. Okay, in the stock exchanges. So it's very difficult for them to have a by their own if they settle all the transaction, if they clear all the transaction. So for the clearing and settlement purpose, they have set up clearing corporation. Earlier the duty was given to clearing houses, but now it is clearing corporations. Okay, so what does basically happens? The seller in the market, he sells the securities, okay, and he gets the payment. Buyer, he buys the securities and makes the payment. Now for everything you think that there is a payment gateway. So similarly, clearing corporation is acting as a payment gateway. Okay, it is settling the transaction between the seller and buyer, and the entire duty for settling and clearing is delegated to the clearing corporation. So stock exchanges are not doing it on their own self. That this particular task has been delegated to clearing corporations. A recognized stock exchange may, with the prior approval of SEBI, transfer the duties and functions of a clearing house to a clearing corporation. Earlier the duties were of a clearing house, and now the duties are transferred to clearing corporation. The central government has power to supersede governing body of a recognized stock exchange. Now in emergency situation, okay, or when they think there is a need, the central government can supersede the governing body of a recognized stock exchange. If they feel that there is an urgent need and there is something wrong being done, so central government can supersede the power. Okay, they can take away the power of governing body of recognized stock exchange and they can put their own officers there. Central government has the power to suspend the business of a recognized stock exchange for not more than 7 days, extendable for 7 more days after opportunity of being heard. Okay, so central government is given the ultimate authority. It can suspend the business of stock exchanges for 7 days. Okay, if they want to extend it for more days, so for more 7 days, it can also extend 7 plus 7. Initially for 7 days they can do. If they want to extend it for more than 7 days, so for that another term of 7 days, they have to give opportunity of being heard to the stock exchange. Next, fourth point. Central government can direct stock exchanges to make new rules or amend its own rules within 2 months of that order, If recognized stock exchange is unable to do so, then it may make the rules or amend the rules themselves. Okay. So central government has the power; it can ask the stock exchanges, okay, to make new rules or amend their rules. And from the from the date of order of central government, within 2 months, the stock exchanges have to make the rules or amend the rules. If the stock exchanges cannot do it by themselves, then central government will make the rules and impose it on them. And SEBI can make or amend bylaws on its own or on the request of the stock exchange, and they must be published in the official gazette of SEBI. Now it is different, guys. When I'm talking about making or amending rules, central government has the power, and when I'm talking about making or amending bylaws, okay, then SEBI has the power. If stock exchange is unhappy with the bylaws made by SEBI, it may apply to SEBI for revision within 2 months of them being published in the official gazette of SEBI. Okay. If now the bylaws that were made by SEBI for the stock exchange is not happy with that, so it can apply to SEBI, okay, for revision, and that application for revision must be made within 2 months from the date on which the earlier bylaws were published in the official gazette of SEBI. So these time limits are also important. Okay, the powers, the time limits, all are important. Certain contracts can be declared as illegal or prohibited. No person shall enter into such contracts. So basically powers are given to central government. They can declare any contract as illegal, they can declare any contract as prohibited. Okay, no person shall deal with such contracts. A stock exchange may establish additional trading floor with the prior approval of the SEBI in accordance with the terms and conditions stipulated by the board. Now stock exchange can also have additional trading floor. Now what do you mean by additional trading floor? Guys, Bombay Stock Exchange is a very big stock exchange, okay, but it is situated in Bombay. Now if a person wants to deal in such securities, okay, he finds it very difficult to do a transaction with Bombay Stock Exchange because he is sitting in Punjab. So for that, stock exchanges can have their additional trading floors. Additional trading floor means a trading ring or trading facility offered by a recognized stock exchange outside its area of operation to enable the investors to buy and sell securities through that such trading floor. Okay, so outside their area of operation, they can set up additional trading floor, and that additional trading floor will facilitate the trading of such securities to the investor outside their area of operation. Okay, so to increase the business, to facilitate the investors, these additional trading floors are set up. The next topic about derivatives. So they are saying that contracts and derivatives shall be legal and valid if such contracts are first trading on a recognized stock exchange, second settled on the clearing house of the recognized stock exchange. So what do we mean by contract and derivatives? Derivatives are basically those securities which get their value from any other underlying assets. Okay, for example, currency swaps, interest rate swaps, bonds, or other we can say like future contracts. Okay, so these are basically some of the uh, derivatives. So they basically do not have their own value, they get their value from any other underlying asset. So they are saying that such contracts are valid, okay, and they are legal, but only if they are traded on a recognized stock exchange. So if they are not traded on a stock exchange, they are not valid. Okay, and secondly, they are settled on the clearing house of the recognized stock exchange. They are not settled directly in the open market, they are settled on the clearing house. Next, stock exchange other than recognized stock exchanges are prohibited. Okay, stock exchanges other than recognized stock exchanges are prohibited. So it is prohibited by any person. Any person cannot, without the permission of central government, be a member or deal with securities on an unrecognized stock exchange. Okay. Next is some important points where securities are listed. So these are points about listing and delisting of securities. So first point is where securities are listed on the application of any person in any recognized stock exchange, such person shall comply with the condition of the listing agreement with that stock exchange. Okay. So if securities are listed on the stock exchange, then such person shall comply with the listing agreement. Listing agreement is the agreement between the company and the stock exchange. So if securities are listed, then in that scenario, what the listing agreement says, you have to comply with that. A recognized stock exchange may delist the securities after recording the reasons therefore and giving an opportunity of being heard from any recognized stock exchange on any ground as may be prescribed under this act. So SECRA, it prescribes a lot of grounds. Okay. So if you are not satisfying those particular grounds, if you are not satisfying the listing agreement, then stock exchange has the power, they can delist your securities. Third, A listed company or an aggrieved investor may file an appeal before the Securities Appellate Tribunal against the decision of the recognized stock exchange delisting the securities within 15 days from the date of decision of the recognized stock exchange. So, a listing company or an aggrieved investor, okay, if the securities have been delisted, okay, then against the decision of listing recognized stock exchange regarding the delisting of securities, that complaint or regarding that particular matter, appeal can be filed with the Securities Appellate Tribunal, but that has to be filed within 15 days from the date of decision of recognized stock exchange. Now it is on the mood of Securities Appellate Tribunal, they can give you a further extension, but normal time period is 15 days. If Securities Appellate Tribunal is satisfied that the company was prevented by sufficient cause from filing the appeal, they can allow the appeal to be filed within a further period not exceeding 1 month. The normal time period is 15 days, but Securities Appellate Tribunal can give you 1 month extension also. Next, if a stock exchange refuses to list the securities as per the bylaws of the exchange, then it must give reason for not allowing the companies to do so. Okay, it is not upon the anonymity and upon the wish upon the stock exchange that they can refuse to list your securities. They can only refuse to list your securities as per law. Okay, so if the stock exchange is refusing you to list your securities as per the bylaws of the exchange, then it has to give you reason in writing. The companies whose securities have been refused to be listed on stock exchange, they have an option. If they are not satisfied with the reason, they can file an appeal to the Securities Appellate Tribunal within 15 days. If satisfied, okay, Securities Appellate Tribunal is satisfied that you have not made a appeal within 15 days because of a sufficient reason, then they can give you a further 1 month extension, and Securities Appellate Tribunal can decide in favor or against the company. In case decision is made in favor of the company, then the stock exchange shall act in conformity with the orders of SAT. Okay, so now when the appeal is filed by the company or by the investor, okay, so SAT has the option. SAT can give you any decision for or against the company. Now if the decision is for the company and against the stock exchange, okay, so stock exchange has to obey their order, and it has to conform to the order of Securities Appellate Tribunal. Next is Act does not apply to certain cases. The SECRA Act, okay, it will not apply to the government, to the Reserve Bank of India, to any local authority or any corporation set up by a special law. Okay, any corporation set up by a special law. Okay, there are certain electricity companies, they are set up by Electricity Act. There are insurance companies that is under the IADA Act. Okay, there are banking companies under the Banking Regulation Act. So for them, this act will not apply. Then any convertible bond or share warrant or any option or right to the person using which he can obtain shares from the company. So any right given to any person, it can be ESOP also, okay, employee stock option plan also, it can be right attached with the shares, it can be share warrant, it can be convertible bonds. So this act, the SECRA Act, will not apply to such type of bonds and securities. The central government can delegate all powers to SEBI or RBI except power to make rules specified below. So central government, it can delegate all the powers to SEBI or RBI, but it cannot delegate the following matters. Now what are the following matters? The manner in which application may be made for taking recognition. Okay, the section 3 was dealing about it. So these particular things, the CG has the power, it cannot delegate the power to SEBI. Then condition for granting recognition, the particulars which should be contained in the periodical return and annual report, the content of annual report and returns, the manner in which an inquiry by the governing body of a stock exchange be made, the manner in which the bylaws to be made, okay, how the bylaws will be made, how they will be amended, the manner in which applications may be made by dealers in securities for licenses, then the requirement which shall be complied with public companies. Okay, what all the public companies will do for the listing of the securities, what is the procedure for that, the grounds on which securities of a company may be delisted. Okay, so we have told you now that delisting can be done if you do not satisfy a particular grounds. So what are the grounds when delisting can be done? The form in which an appeal may be filed before the Securities Appellate Tribunal, how much will be the fees payable, what are the forms, okay, what is the procedure for filing an appeal, the manner in which inquiry needs to be made by adjudicating officer. Okay, so adjudicating officer has the right, he can make inquiry, he can do inspection, but how he will do the inspection, what is the protocol for that, it will be decided by the central government only. Lastly, some important penalties. So penalty for failure to comply with provision of listing conditions or delisting conditions of grounds. Okay, if the company it fails to comply with the provision of listing condition or delisting conditions or any grounds, then the penalty shall be 5 lakh minimum to 25 crores. Then penalty for failure to furnish periodical returns, it will be 5 lakh to 25 crore again. And penalty for failure to conduct business in accordance with the rule. Okay, the rules are being made. Okay, if the business is not conducted with the rules, okay, that is a serious offense. So penalty will be minimum 5 crore, maximum 25 crore, or thrice the amount of gains made out of such failure, whichever is higher. Okay, so these were some of the most important penalties. I hope if any penalty question will be asked, it will be asked from these three particular types only. Okay, now some practice question for you. Very basic question, guys. First question: the board may take measures to undertake inspection of any book or register or other document or record of all public companies, only listed companies, only unlisted companies, all listed public companies, and public companies which intend to get listed. So this I have told you in this video only. The correct option will be D only. All listed public companies and public companies which want the securities to be listed. Next question. SEBI was primarily set up to. What was the objective of SEBI? Regulate the activities of the merchant banks, to control the operations of mutual funds, to work as a regulator of the stock exchange activities, or all of the above. So the correct answer is D. So SEBI has all the functions. It was set up for all of the above tasks. Then who is the current SEBI chairman? Okay, this is a current affair question. Who is the current SEBI chairman? Ajay Tyagi, G. Mahalingam, Anand Barua, S.K. Mohanty. The correct answer is option number A, Ajay Tyagi. Next, the chairman and other members shall have the right to relinquish office at any time before the expiry of their tenure by giving a notice of dash month in writing to the central government. How many months uh, notice must be given to the central government if you want to vacate your office before your expiry term? 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, or 5 months? Very easy, we have seen in the video, it is 3 months. Option number B is correct. It shall be the duty of dash to produce to the investigating authority or any person authorized by it in this behalf all related documents. So all related documents, if any investigating authority is doing any inspection or investigation, okay, so it is whose duty to give him all the documents and cooperate with him? The managers, managing directors, employees, or all of the above? Very easy. You can do it from common sense also. Correct answer will be D, all of the above. Next is the appeal before the Securities Appellate Tribunal shall be disposed finally within dash from the date of receipt of the appeal. So this question I have not covered. This is a part of Securities Appellate Tribunal, and once an appeal has to be is filed before the Securities Appellate Tribunal, it shall be given a deadline. Okay, so from the date of receipt of appeal, it shall dispose it within 6 months time period. Okay, option number A is correct here. An insider will not be penalized if he dash. Okay, in which of the condition if satisfied he will not be penalized? If he communicates any unpublished price sensitive information to any person with his request, counsels or procures for any other person to deal in any securities of any body corporate on the basis of unpublished price sensitive, both of the above, none of the above. Correct answer will be D. He will be penalized in both the cases, A and B. So guys, that was all from our side for the SEBI Act and SECRA Act. Now guys, you are having your exams in the next 2-3 days. So don't panic, be relaxed, be chilled out. Guys, you have done your hard work. Okay, you have studied a lot. Okay, and the most important thing is your relaxation in this moment. Okay, just you have to just revise it again. There is no need to study any new topic. What you have done is completely okay. Just go through your revision material. If you have made any notes, if you are having EduTap PDFs, just go through them again. Just revise them with a calm mind. It's more about the time, that 2 hours period that you give in the examination. Okay, you have done your work, you have done your bit. Okay, just you have to be calm. Most of the time students panic. Okay, the material you have studied, that is the best thing. Okay, just rely on that. Just have confidence about yourself, and you will rock in the exam. Okay, my best wishes are with you. All the best. Bye bye.